Hey, welcome back to the stash. Now, listen, I don't understand what Marvel's problem is, but ever since the late 90s, the people in the Spidey office just seem to hate Mary Jane Watson. From making Peter hit her, to making her have a stillborn, to ruining her marriage, to then just decades of character assassination. I think it's safe to say that Marvel aren't the biggest fans of the best Spider-Man love interest, and honestly, it's just really sad. And what makes it more sad, the list I just said already sounds pretty bleak, but I left out one on purpose that makes it look somehow worse. I'm referring to this small pocket in time of the Amazing Spider-Man comics where Marvel tried to kill off Mary Jane Watson. But hey, real quick, here at The Stash, we're swinging for 20,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Now that's a tall order, I know, but with great power comes great responsibility, and all you gotta do is click subscribe. So if you're into Spider-Man or just comic book deep dives like this, feel free to stick around. Also, I want to give you guys a quick update in regards to comics from The Stash. Episodes will have to wait a little bit until I get my room properly sorted out since it's a mess currently, but after it's all done, I'll be making much more of those. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get right back into the video. Okay, so this questionable story takes place in an already controversial era for the webhead, the Howard Mackie and John Byrne era. This run, to put it simply, was horrible. It was the run fans would generally consider as the worst Spider-Man run ever until a certain Zeb Wells decided to do one better. From MJ's supposed death, to Doc Ock being a proper weirdo, to Byrne doing classic Byrne shenanigans with poor Peter Parker, and of course, who can forget the god-awful origin retcon that didn't last, called Chapter 1. There was a lot wrong with this run. I think it's clear why people just don't like it, and quite frankly, I don't think I'll ever reread it again unless it's for a video or something. It's just not fun, nor is it worth anyone's time, and that's a real shame when you think about the context of when it was released. I mean, we just had the depressing conclusion of the Clone Saga, and I feel like we really needed something that would lift the spirits back up, something that would properly remind us why the Amazing Spider-Man comic books was such a good series. But instead, we got this. At the very least though, we did get the JMS and John Romita Jr. era right after this run. Too bad it's the only real modern story that felt like it actually respected Spider-Man and Mary Jane. But anyway, during the Mackie and Byrne era, they wanted to test the waters, so to speak, on something that would shake Spider-Man's status quo to the very core. They wanted to remove Mary Jane Watson off the book permanently. Now, the comics were already suffering a lot from the inability to let the story evolve by having the Clone Saga and with Aunt May still being alive, Ben Reilly dying, and Peter and MJ still being childless. It's just so weird having the comics set up with them two living in their own luxury apartment and just having Aunt May there tagging along with them. It should have been Mayday. It feels like it was designed for Mayday, but whatever, Aunt May is eternal, I guess. Recently though, Peter and MJ have been going through a bit of a rough patch, and Peter promised MJ that he'd be there for her before she left for a photo shoot to actually talk about things and try to promptly fix them. Now, whether it's the classic Parker luck or plain old Parker stupidity, Peter of course misses the chance to see his wife before she leaves. He then naturally panics, I would too if the writers made me this stupid, and within a blink of an eye, he's off to stop Mary Jane. But where is Mary Jane now? Well, right now she's in the back of a cab outside of the airport. MJ thinks about turning the car around and going right back home to Peter to fix things, but the problem is, why would she if he didn't show up? Meanwhile, Peter is swinging as fast as he can, but like every time he has to be somewhere quick, a crime has to get in the way. And since it's his responsibility, Peter leaps down, hits the two thugs, and swings back off. Then, as he makes ground, a man is about to take his own life. The Reverend convinces him not to, but suddenly a strong gust of wind pushes him off the edge. Luckily for him though, Spidey is able to save him. Finally, Peter makes it to the airport, and after dealing with some complications, he sneaks into the boarding area, but he's far too late. As soon as he looks out the window, the plane has well and truly left the airport behind. So Peter sadly heads home. He tells Aunt May everything that happened and swears he'll find his wife. But unbeknown to him at this moment, Mary Jane's flight is currently in serious jeopardy. They're losing altitude fast, and everyone is in a state of panic and fear over their lives until, without warning, the plane explodes. Now that was issue 13 of The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, and it's safe to say fans at the time were especially not happy. And to make things worse, this dragged on for like a solid year, and the conclusion wasn't even good too. But you might be wondering, what did John Byrne decide to do right after he and Howard Mackie technically killed off Mary Jane Watson? Well, if you take a look at issue 14's cover, then you'd see that, oh god no. Guest writer? Yeah, we can tell. In this issue, we see that the world now knows of MJ's demise, and Peter is all round pretty depressed, and it's something that will continue for the remainder of this story. His friends and family all try to snap him out of it, and his constant denial of Mary Jane's death, but for the majority of the plot, Peter stands firm on his beliefs. He's certain his wife is still alive out there somewhere, and he'll never give up trying to find her. It wasn't until issue 28 where the story was finally starting to unravel, with it being revealed that MJ has been taken captive by yet another mysterious stalker, because I guess we haven't had enough of those already. In issue 29 though is where we get the conclusion to begin. Peter is still sure his wife is out there somewhere, and he's determined to find her one way or another. Meanwhile, MJ's captor is clearly not well. He's struggling with his own personal demons, but his little episode is interrupted when Mary Jane asks for some food. She waits patiently until finally a meal tray is slid under the door. MJ quickly makes sure the guy doesn't leave so she can actually talk to someone. It's been forever since she's been locked up in this prison, and her mind needs the company. She asks the man if he could open the door, but he shuts down the opportunity immediately. He knows that she'd try to escape if he did that, and if she ran, he'd have to hurt her. He doesn't want to resort to that, because in truth, he needs Mary Jane. Soon after, as Peter continues his search, the man reveals he knows all about Peter and MJ, from their marriage to his being Spider-Man. You see, this man has an issue. He could hear every single person's mind. All their details, all their lives are like an involuntary announcement for him to hear. It was getting worse and worse until one day, it suddenly stopped. It was a day where Spider-Man and the Green Goblin were having another fierce battle. During it, a bomb caused some debris to fall into the civilians down below. They all ran, except him. So, naturally, Spider-Man swooped in and saved him, but that one single moment changed everything. He's not quite sure what it was specifically. Perhaps it was the physical contact, perhaps it was something else. Either way though, he was provided a window into Spider-Man's mind, heart, and even his very essence. To this strange man, it felt like he was Spider-Man. It felt like he was living Peter Parker's life. And so later on, he knew what he wanted and how to get it. He disguised himself as the old man on the plane with a drugged lollipop, pretended to be MJ's uncle as he ushered her off the plane and caused said plane to explode so everyone would think that Mary Jane Watson died. MJ can't believe what she's hearing. She can't believe he did all this just to get to her. But he assures MJ it was never really about her. And then at that moment, the Amazing Spider-Man arrives. The strange man is now nowhere to be seen. MJ's door is even open. Spider-Man continues his search until finally he finds Mary Jane Watson. The two immediately embrace before Spider-Man, with his spider sense disabled, is caught off guard and knocked out. Now during this time, they did this really annoying thing where you constantly had to bounce between a couple of titles to get the full story. Luckily they stopped this I think right after this run, but nonetheless, it was still quite a chore to go through. But so MJ's fake death plot actually resolved itself within the pages of an Amazing Spider-Man annual. But the story naturally continues with Peter Parker's Spider-Man issue 29. In this, they decided the best thing was to tease her dying yet again, but this time have Peter present. He rushes MJ to the hospital, but can't stay for long since it's time to finally end this madness once and for all. The strange man and Spider-Man brutally battle it out until it looks like Spidey is about to finally meet his end. But before the man deals the killing blow, he stops himself and remembers Uncle Ben's famous saying. It makes him realize that if he kills Peter here today, then he'll never become him, no matter how hard he tries. So, he leaves. Simple as that. Spider-Man watches him walk off into the distance until the strange man ends his own life with a powerful explosion. At the very least though, Mary Jane is well and truly alive. After 2 deaths, Peter is still able to hold on to her and feel the warmth of his wife once more. Until the ASM annual issue. Within the comic, it looks like things are finally back to how they should be. Peter and MJ are properly reunited, the two seem happy and in love, and it feels like they can finally move forward with their marriage again. But as the story progresses, some cracks begin to show. Even ones that feel like a direct reference to classic stories such as Parallel Lives. By the end of it though, they basically split up. Mary Jane walks out of his life, and after all they just went through, it genuinely feels like a goodbye issue. And it's hard to shake the feeling that the Spidey office just settled on this outcome as the easiest way to kick MJ off the title. It's clear that was the intention behind initially killing MJ in the first place, but after the backlash, I'm guessing they just felt like they needed to bring her back somehow. And since this is comic books after all, it's really not that hard to say anyone survived a certain death. I mean, take our main example. That woman has cheated death on like 100 separate occasions. But so, since they couldn't kill her off, they instead just split them up. Sure, JMS came in right after this and with some brilliant storytelling brought Peter and MJ back together, but hell, it sure didn't last long. Soon as the Spidey office got the chance to, they split them right back up again, only this time it was through one of the worst retcons ever in comic history. What a waste of a year this was though for Spider-Man comics. Lame twist, lame villain, lame attempt to get rid of an iconic character, and overall, a lame story. It's all just unfortunately bad. And even when rereading it for this video, the comic still left me baffled with how poor its ideas and execution of said ideas were. There's times here where it feels like the book genuinely has no clue what it's doing, and other moments where you can feel the overarching sense of inevitability of what the Spidey office is clearly pushing for. And I think the worst part of it all is how after all these years, we still haven't escaped editorial ruining Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson.